Have you ever been in a meeting where a huge business decision felt like, well, basically a shot in the dark? We've all been there. Today, we're going to talk about how to trade that guesswork for a powerful, data-driven process that leads to much smarter choices.
It's a fantastic question, right? You see these brilliant leaders, people with tons of resources, and they make calls that, in hindsight, just make you scratch your head. It's not that they aren't smart, it's that even the absolute best intuition can lead you down the wrong path. So what's really going on here?
I mean, think about it. When even titans like Richard Branson and Steve Jobs admit to making massive mistakes, it's a pretty clear sign that just going with your gut has some serious limits. And we all know one bad judgment call at that level can cost a fortune.
So, what's the antidote to all this high-stakes guesswork? It's bringing in a scientific approach. And no, this isn't about weighing lab coats and playing with beakers. It's about having a reliable, structured process. Think of it like a compass to guide you through the fog of business uncertainty.
This really brings us to the main event, the classic showdown between hunches and science. On one side, you have that gut feeling. It's fast, sure, but man, it can be unreliable. And on the other, you have a systematic, careful investigation that's rigorous and dependable. Let's break down what makes that scientific side so powerful.
So, what do we actually mean when we say research is scientific? It's not just some fancy buzzword. It means the study meets 8 specific standards, or hallmarks, that are the secret sauce to making the results truly trustworthy.
Okay, think of this list as your ultimate quality control checklist for research. Every single one of these is important, but a few are absolute game changers. Rigor, for instance, just means you're being careful and not cutting corners. You skip that, and your whole study is built on sand. Replicatability is huge. It means someone else can follow your exact steps and get the same result. Without that, your finding might just be a one-time fluke. And objectivity, that's about making sure your conclusions are based on cold, hard facts, not what you wish was true.
Now let's quickly zoom in on precision and confidence, because these two go hand in hand. Precision is all about how close you are to the actual truth. Are you hitting the bullseye, or are you not even on the dartboard? But confidence is just as crucial. It tells you the probability that your estimate is actually correct. The best research gives you both, a very precise answer with a high level of confidence, say 95%, that you've nailed it.
All right, so how do we actually do all this? Well, we use a proven systematic toolkit. It's got a pretty fancy name, the hypothetico-deductive method, but don't let that scare you. It's really just a logical 7-step journey that takes you from having a vague problem to finding a clear, actionable solution.
And here it is, that 7-step roadmap. It works like a funnel. You start broad at the top, just noticing a general problem. Then you narrow it down, defining exactly what you're trying to solve and making an educated guess. That's your hypothesis. The rest of the steps are all about testing that guess. You figure out how to measure things, you collect your data, you analyze it, and finally, you figure out what it all means. It's a straight line from, something's off, to, okay, here's what we need to do.
Now, underneath this whole process are 2 basic ways of thinking. The 7-step method we just looked at, that's all about deductive reasoning. You start with a big general theory and you narrow down to test one specific idea. So you're going from general to specific. The flip side is inductive reasoning. That's where you start with a bunch of specific little observations and you build them up to create a broader theory, specific to general. Both are super important tools in a researcher's kit.
Okay, enough theory. Let's get this out of the textbook and into the real world. We're going to see how this 7-step method works by tackling a classic business headache, the CIO dilemma. This is where you can really see the magic happen. So, here we go. Step 1. The Chief Information Officer, the CIO, notices something's wrong. The company just spent a ton of money on a shiny new information system, but the middle managers, the people who are supposed to be using it every day, well, they're not. It's a super common, really frustrating problem. And that's our broad problem area.
Now, the CIO doesn't just start guessing. She starts digging. She talks to a few managers, maybe does some light reading, and she starts to narrow her focus. She goes from that big, vague problem to a very sharp, researchable question. She suspects it might have something to do with 2 things: how much the managers know about the system and how open they are to change in general.
And from that focus question, she creates a clear, testable prediction. This is her hypothesis, step 3. Her educated guess is this: if managers actually understood why the system is useful for them, they'd be way more likely to use it. It's a simple, logical idea that you can actually go out and test.
Time to get practical.
To test her hypothesis, she needs data. So, what does she do? She creates a simple questionnaire to measure her key variables. How much do the managers know? How open are they to new tech? And hey, how often are they really using the system? This covers step 4, determining measures, and step 5, collecting the data.
And here it is, the big payoff. She crunches the numbers, and the answer becomes crystal clear. It wasn't about the managers being stubborn or resistant. The data showed they just didn't know how to use the system properly, or they didn't believe it would actually help them do their jobs better. And that interpretation points directly to a solution. Let's organize some training seminars. No more guesswork, just a clear, data-backed plan.
Now, that 7-step method is an incredibly powerful tool, but it's really important to know that it's built on a certain way of seeing the world. So let's just zoom out for a second and ask a much bigger question. When we do research, is there only one single truth out there for us to find? This basically breaks down 2 different philosophies. The method we've been talking about all day is rooted in positivism. It assumes there's one single objective reality out there, and the goal of research is to measure it, predict it, and control it. But there's another view, constructionism, which says that the world is socially constructed. The goal here isn't to find one truth, but to understand how different people make sense of their world, using tools like in-depth interviews and focus groups.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's this. While it's good to know different philosophies exist, for most business decisions, having a structured, scientific approach is your best friend. It's your most reliable guide for cutting through the noise, navigating uncertainty, and avoiding those huge, expensive mistakes that happen when we're just winging it.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought. The next time you're at a crossroads with a critical decision to make and a lot on the line, what are you going to reach for? Are you going to trust your gut, or are you going to trust the guide?